Hey everybody, Mac to Master, back with Marvel Heroes, and up on the chopping block is Rogue, long awaited. And, well, it was kind of difficult because there's like 1,050 different directions you can go with. But really, there's only a couple different directions once you really look into everything. And one of them is about to get super nerfed, so if you're going with Malekith's beam, they're already talking about the nerf back coming to that. I guess that's overtuned according to them. I don't know if it's truly overtuned, uh, but apparently people are having fun with it, so that means it must be overpowered. And it was very, very strong for a tank build, therefore it must be overpowered yet again. That being said, if you're using that build, you're going to be looking for something different probably, because they're probably going to nerf it into the ground. And I think that's what's happening to EMF and Silver Surfer. So, anyways, I did not go with that build. I did go with a build that's pretty similar to about what everybody else in the world's doing, just because it's hard not to go in that direction. It really stands out. Um, if you play Gambit, you really like one of those powers anyways. It's it's an awesome power, so it's hard not to go with that power. And then everything you can do through that power is just crazy. And then she has a power of her own that's really good. So we do have a rogue build. I call it all or nothing. And it's going to be kind of a different build for me because it does go into the all or nothing kind of category. And well, let me just take off the gear first. Make it easier for everyone to see. It's the only thing I forgot to do. So in doing it, it's kind of defensive, it's kind of offensive. She herself, in the core of her character, is made pretty defensive on her own. She has really defensive stats, which is pretty nice. So here she is, without gear, she has 7 durability, 7 strength, 6 fighting. I mean, that's pretty diesel as it is. So no matter what you throw on her, it's going to back her up pretty good. You can't ignore defense just because she has a high durability. But if you support defense with this high durability, you're going to be very, very happy. Now, with all that done, you can see where the points are. As you can see, in her Marvelous Physique tree, we've actually done nothing with our own basics except for one ability. We've done 20 points into Crushing Blows. This ability hits like a truck for fairly decent spirit cost. Doesn't cost too much, and like I said, it hits like a truck, so why not do it? Everything else in there I don't like, so I myself I don't use. I don't even really use her charge. I find her charge just travels way too far and a little bit too slow for my liking. Um, and that's about it. Now, for the steal from friends and steal from foes, there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's so much good stuff out there. I'm simply going to post the link to the forums that tells you everything out there that's what's to steal. A lot of people like different types of skills. Um, so there's several different abilities. There's core abilities which you can steal as many as you want, and they're basically attack powers. Most of them aren't worth stealing. Malekith's was one of the ones considered worth stealing. However, that's going to go away because they're going to nerf it. And then you have passive abilities, and you have support abilities, and you have attrition abilities. All of these, except for the passives you can have 3, the supports you can have 2, and the attritions you can have 2. Basically, all an attrition are the damage over times. Passes are passives, and supports are actually passives or active abilities. Even Osmium Skin here, which actually is a passive skill, works as a support. So not all passives are supports, and not all supports are passives. Kind of strange. So you really have to look and pick and choose and try out what you like and don't like. So that being said, I mean, one of the best attrition skills out there is Crashing Hail. And this comes from Storm. The reason why is because the damage is on par with everything else out there at around 4,500 damage twice per second. But it's also got a nasty snare at almost 50% attack and movement speed. And it lasts longer. It's a little bit heavy in the spirit cost, but lasting almost 9 seconds, it's awesome. Plus, the build that we're doing is a build that's based on power duration. So power duration added onto Crashing Hail is helping out phenomenal. And it's actually a spirit intensive build. I mean, you can drain spirit like mad on her. So if you're not backing up spirit, you're going to run out of spirit on the long run. Short run, it won't matter. You know, like say a simple cosmic boss won't matter so much because you can just burn and you do so much damage, you'll kill it. But if you're going to raid in this style, you're going to have to think of how spirit's going to come in. You're going to have to think very hard about that. So we're doing 20 points into Crashing Hail to maximize its damage. We'll do the passives. The 3 passives we got is Driven by Vengeance from Punisher. This is popular, obviously, because it's critical strike chance, but more importantly, brutal strike chance. Odd for me to say that and odd for that to be true, but with one of the abilities we're going to be using, we're going to be gaining a lot of crit chance. And so we're going to back up the crit damage with brutal strike damage. And you're just going to hit like a truck so much with this one skill here. And it comes through phenomenally well because you get more passives than you normally would be able to get on any other character. Not sure how long this is going to last. It might be something that they nerf completely on her because it's insanely broken once you see everything that starts happening. But obviously you get crit chance, you get brutal strike rating, and then you get accuracy, which beefs our critical strike rating and our critical damage rating, which also helps our brutal strikes. So that's phenomenal. We get Weapon Specialist. So every time we hit with a ranged power, or we get ranged power damage rating, we get melee power damage rating, and we get more melee damage rating every time we hit with a ranged power. Might as well go in the correct order instead of going out of order. So that's really beefing up our abilities. So that's making this work kind of like Captain America does. Again, you know, we're using Crashing Hail, which is a ranged ability, and we're hitting things with Crushing Blows, which is a melee ability. And then we got Destroyer's Vengeance. And that was Gamora's passive. If you already have her as a team up, you just summon her up, steal her power. You can get rid of her at that point, or you know, get someone to summon her for you, steal her power. And then you got Draxes. Again, if you have them, you summon them, steal it, or you got to find someone who has them to get summoned, steal it. But this is where a lot of your brutal strike damage comes in, because it gives you brutal strike rating, brutal strike chance, and then a ton of brutal strike damage. So that's what's enabling you to hit like a truck, and that's where we're kind of going into a brutal strike damage support build. It's pretty fun. So you know, it's one of the few characters that really works extremely well without having to completely gear for it. In this spec, you are, you know, taking your skills and you're putting your skills to use for it. So we got 20 points into Crushing Blows, 20 points into Crashing Hail, 20 points into Driven by Vengeance, 20 points into Weapon Specialist, 20 points into Destroyer's Vengeance. Then you need another attrition skill, and you can use a lot of different ones. I prefer Electroblast, which is Mandarin's attrition skill. It's ranged in its area. It doesn't do quite as much damage as some of the other ones, but we are slowing everything, so actually we are doing the same kind of damage because we're going to get a 10% bonus from that. It has a 6-second duration, but it does a nice big area, and it's pretty easy to use. So this hits for just the same amount of damage as everyone else because we are slowing everything. and it gives us a second attrition area power and allows us to hit 4 times a second. And that's a key factor because what we're using after we put 20 points into that is Raging Cajun, and this is where Gambit comes in. You got to steal this from Gambit. And then this is one of the few powers you actually have to steal from a foe for me. And Raging Cajun, what that's doing is giving us extra energy damage per hit with a 0.25 second cooldown. This is why we want to hit 4 times a second. 2 attrition powers hitting twice per second. That'll give us 4 hits a second. It also gives us a big chunk of critical strike rating, increasing our crit, and it lasts for 10 seconds on a 30-second cooldown. But every time you critically or brutally strike, you reduce the cooldown by 1 second, and that can happen once per second. So basically, you can make this cooldown happen once every 15 seconds. And then if you have enough duration, you can actually increase the duration almost long enough to make this last as long as the cooldown does. So basically, if you could get to it, you'd need 50% duration, but somewhere around 30% duration is more than enough. And if you have her gear and the right medallion, you're going to be in the 30%. So you go 2 seconds down, you won't miss those 2 seconds. And that's 20 points into that. And then finally, this so far actually is only a 7-skill build. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's pretty easy on the point expenditures. You need 1 point to steal Osmium Skin, but you want to steal it from a foe. So in X defense, you have to steal it from Colossus Pet when that event comes through on X defense. So instead of stealing it from a player Colossus, you want to steal it from Pet Colossus. And that event comes up all the time. One of the nice thing about Mr. Sinister and his pets and X defense is you can use that to get the same buffs that you could from characters from foes, because there's not a lot of foes that you necessarily want to steal from, so it's a way to get these in. But as you can see, it's on damage negated of 5%. So that, with 1 point into Kree Resilience, gives us 20% damage negation. So those are awesome 1 point expenditures. I also stole from Black Widow a movement. It's a core ability. You can have any type of core you want. But it's a charge, so instead of doing some pretty hefty damage you were doing with the Kree charge, but instead of doing that, I do a little bit slower or shorter of a charge, and I go invisible at the end of the charge, which can come in very handy. So I like that. And the only thing I'm waiting for, I got the extra slot for, is when I come across a Mole Man, I'll probably steal his pets. Once every 30 seconds you can summon pets, but I haven't come across a Mole Man. And then you got Kriegi the Undying. If you want a teleport ability, you can steal from Kriegi the Undying in X defense only. Her or his ability, and that will let you teleport. However, if you try to do it in regular X defense with a whole bunch of people, forget about it. They're going to obliterate it before you can steal it, usually, unless you get it into a higher level X defense and it has enough hit points to survive so you can set up the steal and everything. One of the annoying things about Rogue is once you steal a power and forget a power, you can't recall it. It would have been nice if they did that, but they don't. And Rogue really can steal powers a lot easier than you can in this game. Once all she has to do is touch them to steal the power. In this game, you have to set up a skill, touch it, and be in certain range, and do all kinds of weird things to steal this power. It's very annoying when everybody's killing it, and it's dying literally in seconds in front of your eyes, and you're like, no, wait, and the button's not working, or you're not targeting, you're not close enough, it got moved away, somebody pushed it, it really sucks. So if you want Kriege's skill, the best thing to do is to take the time and QX defensive alone and just wait for the hand to show up, and that's where Kriege is, and you go there and you can steal the teleport. That being said, you don't need the teleport. You don't also need the other two, either Lavalanche or Surtur's abilities either. However, if you do go to the raids and you do steal those abilities, they are pretty phenomenal. So that's the build. And so just to recap, it's 20 points into Crushing Blows, 20 points into Crashing Hail from Storm, 20 points into Driven by Vengeance from Punisher, 20 points into Weapon Specialist from Gamora, 20 points into Raging Cajun from Gambit, 20 points into Destroyer's Vengeance from Drax, 1 point in Flight, 1 point in Creed Resilience, 1 point into Stealthy Escape from Black Widow, 20 points into Electro Blast from Mandarin, 1 point in Osmium Skin from Colossus Pet, and that's it. Real easy, real simple build. Gearing, like I said, it's crazy spirit intensive, so we're using a super heroic Matt's Arrowhead. Backing up damage, we're going to use a really nice Advanced Crimson Crystal of Cytaric. These are real easy to get, gives us some hit points and some invulnerability. Backing up the damage again, we're using ranged all the time, and we're seeing how we got ranged dots flying off the rack. What that's going to do is reset this 942 damage rating to melee powers all the time for us. This will be up. Plus, it's +1 to all powers. So that's going to really beef up this Crushing Blows. And then finally, we're going to back up Crushing Blows yet again with a Danger AI chip with physical damage. And then we want to support Raging Cajun as best as we can. And we're going to use a Dr. Doom's medallion. And this is actually a very nice medallion because it's got the spirit. It's got a chance to fear attackers when they attack you. And this one's got a pretty high chance. It's also got some damage rating to it. 20% power duration is what we're looking for. Really, 25% would be nice, but I'll take 20. And health on it with +2 ranks. That's very nice. On the ring, I looked for anything that had health crit rating to beef up my Brutal Strike rating, because my Brutal Strikes are so high, I want to get my crit chance up there too. I'd like to keep my Brute and my Critical Strike chances as even as possible. And a chance to slow for some crowd control. So it's all around defense, offense, and support. To back up my defense, I went with a defensive Euro still with River of the Soul to support that spirit regeneration. Still using Relic of Lemuria. For the insignia, this is just an insignia of the Phoenix, but it has critical hit rating and critical damage rating, which will support the Brutal Strikes and the Critical Strikes. And then I got all health on the core, because we're going to be melee and we're going to be, you know, in the thick of it. And we're still kind of squishy, even with all the hit points that we're going to have. We're going to want to be at that minimal 20,000 hit points just for melee. I would run an Excalibur here, or the Power Cosmic if you had a legendary, if you're going to run a legendary. And then we've got Rogue slot 1, her own. It's got crit chance on it, critical hit damage. As you can see, she's geared up pretty well. It's got fighting on there. +4 ranks to her Steel Friends powers. That's going to beef us up pretty good. And then, let's see, where's our slot 2? That's got some more health on it. +4% damage to bosses. I know it goes up to 5, but mine's 4. Minus spirit cost for powers is nice, plus another 10% power duration. Like I said, it's pretty easy with her to get to 10%. And plus it gives us damage rating with melee powers and damage rating with ranged powers and +2 ranks to all powers. I mean, her gearing is just pretty awesome. the Cloak of the Reaper, which is Rogue Slot 3. This is pretty awesome in itself. Gives you damage rating, gives you hit points regeneration, spirit, projectile deflection. I mean, we're deflecting projectiles pretty good. Brutal strike rating and damage rating. I mean, that's just awesome. You got a chance to summon a pet, so he'll take some damage away. Got another chance to summon another pet, and then +2 to all powers. So we got some pets going on. Age of Apocalypse boots, Rogue Slot 4. It's got damage rating versus things not targeting you. That kind of sucks for soloing. Probably be really good for not tanking. But it's got health, and it's got strength and energy, which beats both the attack damages that we're doing. And plus, we gain damage when we're attacked. So it kind of goes both ways. And it also beefs up +6 ranks to all Rogue Steel foe powers. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I enchanted it with defense because I felt she was weak with defense. I'm hitting, obviously, that 20,000 hit point mark, so I'm fine with my hit points. So I beefed up defense instead. So it's almost like having another piece of armor. And finally, I didn't have Rogue Slot 5. I would use it and highly recommend it. From what I read, it sounds pretty good. So I went with the next best thing that I could, which is the Omega Sentinel's Energy Blaster, which gives me damage rating with ranged powers, crit chance, and a whole bunch of procs, and +1 all powers, basically. So that's everything. Let's go kill Cosmic Dr. Octopus. Cosmic Kingpins. So, kind of like Nightcrawler, she's going to be a little bit slow on this build to kill trash and a little bit faster to kill bosses. The smaller the pulls, the better off you are, just like Nightcrawler. As you can see, all I have set up is Crushing Blows as my basic attack, Crashing Hail, Electro Blast, and Raging Cajun on my bar, and I just burn all three. And don't freak out when you see the Sentinel, because if you're using the Sentinel's laser blaster, well, you're going to summon a Sentinel. The lesser content, like Midtown and everything, you don't even have to blow Raging Cajun to kill off trash. Got a tracker on. So what's nice about this build is it completely supports itself. Raging Cajun and crits. The stealth roll is nice because stealth drops aggro and everything forgets about you. So if you're taking too much damage, which can happen, because what we've done is we took in a very defensive-oriented character instead of building it, defense. We built it offensively and just given it enough defense to get by. Guess we'll find out if he's a summoner. Sentinel evasion, beetle horde. Yeah, perfect. I was gonna get rid of the extras. Target him. There you go, it's that easy. Well, not that it was easy, but that fast. Had a little bit of a problem where it was untargetable. It's a bug that happens, especially when you mouse click. If it happens, you have to unclick and move away and re-click. It sucks. But you saw how fast it can burn down, and that's basically what you're looking to do. But sometimes they don't cooperate. Sometimes they have their cosmic auras follow them around so much and you just gotta move away. Which is why I like that stealth escape, because it forgets you and the auras forget you too. So they kind of go in different directions, and you have a pet out, they lock onto the pet instead. And she does summon 3 pets in this build, so it's very nice. That's it. So if you like high damage and high output type characters, I mean, she's definitely it. She's got survivability to back it up, and it's fun. Like her. I don't like the whole stealing powers and having to forget them and having to go back to re-steal them again. I wish you could just steal them and remember them, but I'm probably asking for way too much. But that's it. So, hope it helps. Hope the tips helped, and talk to everybody later.